This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. As we've reported, the German auto industry is facing potential production disruptions because of energy supply shortages. And while the top automakers like BMW, Volkswagen, and Mercedes say they have secured supplies for the time being, their suppliers are sounding alarm bells over the rising energy costs. They want to renegotiate contracts to have car makers cover some of the higher costs. But so far, the car makers are reluctant to do so, even though that means suppliers won't be able to keep their production lines running. It's getting so bad that one supplier says they'll cancel contracts if the automakers don't contribute. The German government is expected to offer a relief package, but it would only be for a limited time. Some automakers are looking to source parts outside of Germany, but it can take at least 6 months to establish a new supplier. Many foreign automakers and countries are ticked off over the recent Inflation Reduction Act, since it only gives EV subsidies to vehicles and batteries produced in the US or in approved regions. But now Reuters reports that the European Union and the US are negotiating and are expected to reach a deal to allow EVs made in Europe to qualify for the same tax breaks. The EU points out that it provides subsidies for the purchase of EVs made in the US and says it's discriminatory for the US not to provide the same assistance. South Korea has also been very vocal about its opposition to the IRA, so it wouldn't surprise us if it negotiates a similar deal to qualify for the tax credits. Today, about 85% of a vehicle can be recycled at the end of its life, but a new vehicle is only made with 20 to 30% recycled materials. Renault wants to change that, so it created a new brand called The Future is Neutral, whose aim is to, quote, significantly increase the proportion of recycled materials from the automotive industry in the production of new vehicles. Unfortunately, it doesn't say by how much it expects to increase that percentage, but it will utilize all of the group's assets as well as those from outside partners to increase the amount of material that's recycled, and it says it wants to expand this beyond the Renault Group.
We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
At Schaeffler, we pioneer motion. Electrifying mobility. Manufacturing smarter. Reducing CO2 emissions, making energy production clean. Schaeffler pioneers motion to advance how the world moves.
What if your car could clean up its own emissions? That's essentially what Audi is testing. It's been running a project since 2020 with an all-electric e-tron model that's fitted with a special filter in front of the radiator and AC condenser. So as the vehicle drives around, it picks up harmful fine particulates from the air. It can even operate as the car is charging, since a small cooling fan is used to suck in outside air to keep the battery at an optimal temperature. The filter would have to be changed at a regular service interval, but Audi estimates the system could remove the equivalent of nearly 15 kilograms or about 33 pounds of CO2 over its lifetime. EV startup Lucid is rolling out a new over-the-air update for its Air sedan that it says is the most extensive so far. Some of the highlights include instant-on displays, so the car is ready to go as soon as the driver sits down and buckles up. It also redesigned screen layouts so they're more ergonomic, updated navigation and maps, and improved its highway assist feature with active lane centering and adaptive cruise control. Lucid has already rolled out the free OTA update to some customers and will continue to do so over the next couple of weeks. The Volkswagen Group continues to grow sales of electric vehicles. Through the first 9 months of the year, it sold 366,400 BEVs worldwide, up 25% compared to a year ago. That total includes models from VW, Audi, Skoda, Porsche, Seat, and even some of its commercial brands. But those are small numbers so far. BEVs now account for 6% of the group's overall sales, up from just over 4% in 2021. According to the Supplier ZF, 1 out of every 4 vehicles sold in the US last year was a medium or full-size pickup. So it's launching a new electric axle specifically to help electrify the truck segment in the American market. The e-beam axle, as it's called, combines the motor, inverter, and transmission into one solid axle. It will work with 400 or 800 volt systems. It can generate up to 350 kilowatts, or about 470 horsepower, and make 16,000 newton meters, or about 11,500 pound-feet of torque. But you must remember that last figure includes the actual torque of the motor, which ZF didn't provide, multiplied by the gear ratio. Other benefits of the electric axle include the ability to work with rear-wheel steering, and it's a drop-in application, so little modification would have to be done even if it was used on an ICE platform. And speaking of ZF, it signed a deal with NIO to supply it with a steer-by-wire system. There's not a lot of details, including what region it plans to launch the technology in, but NIO has a hands-free driving system which requires steer-by-wire. I know there are still some people out there that are averse to knowing there's no mechanical connection between the steering wheel and the tires, but there are other benefits as well. The steering ratio, or how many times you have to turn the steering wheel before it locks, can easily be changed. And that's a nice feature when you're trying to fit into a tight parking spot, or if you hit a nice section of road where you want to drive more sporty. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Experience Dolby Atmos, anywhere, anytime. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And by Schaeffler, we pioneer motion. Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.